Man your battle stations because the sports generals are on patrol. A salute to you. We normally air every Thursday from 12:30 to 1:30 here on the So What's the Catch Facebook page. And then we later post the episode on the Sports Generals YouTube channel, as well as the Unger to Max YouTube channel. Colin Kaepernick worked out with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm sure we'll get more into this once Jason gets on. But I think it's been 6 years since Colin Kaepernick played in the league, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that. Write in the comments if it's been longer or a shorter amount of time, but I'm pretty sure it's been 6 years. That's a lot of time off. Now, whether you agree with his political stance or not, there's Jay. Let's bring him in. There you are.
What's going on, man?
Not too much. I was just getting into the whole Colin Kaepernick thing.
Okay, great. Yeah, this caught me off guard, but we're here.
Yeah. So the last time I can remember Kaepernick playing was roughly 6 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, it was about 6 years ago. He threw his final pass for the 49ers. That's when Jim Harbaugh was calling the plays there. So it's been a while. He's been out and in of the media as far as what he's going to do. Is he going to play? Is it more of a trying to sell your brand, or are you taking a stance? It was a lot of circus surrounding him. So yes, it seems like this is about to come true now.
Yeah. And he just had a workout with the Las Vegas Raiders. What I was saying earlier, whether you agree with his political stance or not, I feel like he was wrongfully scapegoated.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he was blamed, and it feels like he was a pariah, okay, amongst the league. He stood up for he had a cause. He believed in that cause, and despite the repercussions and the backlash, he stayed true to his form. It just started to rub a lot of people the wrong way, specifically in the African American community, when we are thinking, yes, you're taking a stance for what you believe in, but are you using this as a platform to capitalize money off of? Because if you remember, the Nike contract that he received was like for $50 million, I believe. And he was having a documentary filmed, and it was a lot of other stuff going on where it wasn't really about football, or so it seemed.
Yeah. What really ousted him though was when he took his knee and came out and said why he took the knee, and after that it was just political ridicule. Whether it was right or wrong is up for your opinion, because I feel like that part of it is subjective,
right?
But I agree with you that he was kind of treated like a pariah. Like, hey, like it's almost like he was treated like the poster child, if you will.
Exactly. Like, this is, if you get out of line, or if you're bad in class, this is an example of what we're going to do to you to teach everyone else not to get out of line. And so, yes, that's exactly how it came off.
Yeah. B. Ward says he only believed in his cause after he was already about to lose his job. He played us all to push his agenda.
See, yeah, and as you can see, a lot of people, like me specifically, I was always pulling for him, and I always believed he's doing this for the right reasons. But I got lost in the shuffle when, and this is after the Nike contract, where okay, it's not about, it's not really about football because you aren't conditioning daily. You're not showing teams that you're serious. And then when you have that combine, a couple of years ago, you tell all the NFL, it was already scheduled where all the NFL teams were going to come see you work out, see how you're throwing, everything. And you take a last minute detour and say, you know what? I am not going to practice here at the Georgia Dome or at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. We're going to go around the corner to this school. And it's like, okay, what's really going on here? Like, are you serious, or are you just using us as a pawn?
Right.
So yeah, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way for sure. And I was under the opinion, like, I was starting to think he wasn't serious about playing, honestly, after all of that.
Yeah. It's, the whole thing is very confusing, like, because once Kaepernick took his stand, you saw other players starting to take knees during the national anthem. Maybe it wasn't necessarily for the same reasons Kaepernick was doing it. They were doing it for their own individual reasons. It's which is the same thing. Like, if you were to go out and protest, you might not protest the same thing I would protest for.
Right,
but we would both still be protesting.
Right. And it's a matter of your protest and which way you decide, right? Because we just, yes, he was kneeling and made a lot of people uncomfortable, but it did bring a lot of attention to the cause. And he did ruffle feathers, but he did get everyone's attention by doing so.
Right. It's, you say he ruffled feathers, but guess what? It's just like even if somebody were to leave a negative comment, like when you write an article, or if they leave a negative comment on a YouTube video, guess what? You still read that article. You still watched that video. So, like, he may have ruffled a few people's feathers, but guess what? They still listen to what he had to say.
They're still listening.
What his actions caught their attention for one reason or another.
It was effective. Regardless, like you said, regardless if it ruffled your feathers or not, you were still tuning in every Sunday, every Thursday, and every Monday. So, at the end of the day, did it really damage money? No. In fact, it might have grown the money, but the most important thing was Colin Kaepernick specifically. Was your agenda accomplished? And after all of this was said and done, and you look back at it, was it all worth it? Was it all worth being away from the league? Was it all worth the Nike contracts and the endorsements? Was the juice worth the squeeze?
That's such a tough question to answer, because at the time, I believe this was in what season was this? 2014 season where he did this, correct?
2015, I believe. Yes.
Because in the past couple of years, he had been to the NFC Championship like 3 consecutive years. He went to the Super Bowl and was just a couple minutes away from potentially winning it.
Absolutely.
And
and then in his final season, he was a short pass where that the pass that Richard Sherman tipped. He's one more pass away from getting back to the Super Bowl. So and also, just to put into perspective, he dethroned Alex Smith. Okay, so he made Jim Harbaugh say, you know what? I like Alex Smith, and we all know Alex Smith is absolutely, he's a good quarterback. He's a good leader. He's a good teacher. But I like this kid, number 7, and he gives me the best chance to win. So I'm going to go forward with him. And we seen him on the field. It's just his throwing was a little, he wasn't accurate. He had an arm, but he was still raw. But he had the speed. and there was no denying that. And the way the league shifted to the RPOs, you could say he's the godfather of that.
Yeah, you could. It's interesting. Alex Smith actually gave way to both Kaepernick in San Francisco, and he gave way to Mahomes in Kansas City.
Ain't that something? Yeah. Yeah, that's a teacher. I mean, and again, Alex Smith was good. Like a lot of people that don't watch football like me and you watch it don't understand. Alex Smith was the number 1 pick in the same draft that Aaron Rodgers was in. Okay, and a lot of people have to justify this pick, but he's been good and consistent ever since he came into the league and handled it with nothing but class.
Right, I agree with you. Okay, so do you think Kaepernick is ultimately going to end up becoming a Las Vegas Raider?
So, I think so. Okay, well, let's clean up a couple of things. He's not going to replace Derek Carr, okay? And I think our viewers need to understand that he's not ready to be a starting quarterback in the league. He's not better than Derek Carr at all, okay? So he's not better, but if you remember, the backup for Derek Carr was Mariota, right?
Correct.
Kind of a similar style, except for, Mariota probably has more touch and more accuracy, but despite that, same guy, and they need a backup quarterback. Derek Anderson, Derek Carr gets hurt from time to time, and they're in a competitive division, so it's absolutely good to have him on board.
Yeah,
I think this is more of an indictment, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but Baker Mayfield, right? Because Baker Mayfield got to be watching all this unfold like, damn, I'm sitting here and nobody still want to take a chance on me, yet Kaepernick coming right in and getting a workout, and it looked like he's going to get that job, and what about me, right? So
yeah,
it's a couple of ways to slice this one for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up Baker, because I'm looking at what you texted me, and you said the trade didn't happen between the Browns and Panthers because of a measly $14 million.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's sad. It's sad though, man. Look, in the NFL, a quarterback, because and I was saying it all tongue in cheek, and you know how I joke around, but $14 million to owners in the NFL, to a team that's trying to win, that is nothing. Okay, that's like me borrowing $20 from you, Josh, or vice versa. That's nothing to them. But the meaning of that $20 is what comes into the fold, and it's really, really an indictment on Baker, how low he's falling, because $14 million. Like, again, we're talking about $14 million, which was the deal breaker of the total $19 million, right? $19 million for the number 1 pick, a starting quarterback, a guy that has been proven from, yes, it's debatable as far as his accuracy and all of the other stuff, but he's a starting quarterback. And for that price, that's a steal. And the fact that they weren't willing to pay that, that's another slap in the face to the Baker camp.
Yeah, I think at this point, the Browns are just going to hold on to Baker until training camp. And inevitably, another team's starting quarterback is going to get injured. Not that we wish injury upon anybody. Don't get it twisted. I'm not sitting here saying I want another team's quarterback to get injured. But it just feels inevitable. It always seems to happen right on schedule. Like, we're in training camp, and oh no, this team's starting quarterback is injured.
Always. Yeah, you're right.
Fast forward to next season. We're in training camp. Oh no, this team's quarterback got injured. It happens all the time.
All the time. Yeah, it's just part of the business. Like, you got training camp, you got mini camp, you got training camp, you got preseason games. A quarterback's going to get injured. And we're not wishing injury on anyone, but it happens. Just like life insurance. Death happens. You don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen, and you have to prepare. And this is an insurance policy.
Death, taxes, quarterback getting injured before the season starts.
Man, yes, it's crazy. It's crazy. But hey, what can you say?
Right. Speaking of Baker, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, he was a no-show at voluntary OTAs.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and that's a surprise to how many people? Zero.
And I believe this was asked to Deshaun Watson how he felt about it. And, he said, hey, we got to work. This is our team. We're here to get better each day. He said all the right things, but, again, it's just hurting Baker. I don't understand if Baker understands all of this extra shenanigans that's going on is just hurting him. Report the camp. You make if you report the camp, you actually are putting the Browns in a rough spot because they like, okay, we know it's uncomfortable here. All our players are going to get asked the same questions. We have to hurry up and pull the trigger. And you're putting the pressure on them just from showing up. So do that. You're still a Cleveland Brown, whether you want to admit it or not. You're under contract, and they hold your rights. So just do the things you need to do to get traded or to get off the team, man. But you're hurting yourself, and you are hurting their leverage that the Browns had. That's out the window now.
Yeah. Baker has all the leverage in this situation. But I can't get over the fact that, Seattle could have possibly chosen a quarterback in the draft, and they didn't.
Right.
They have the opportunity to trade for Baker Mayfield, and they haven't done that. The fact that they are willing to go into this season with Drew Lock and Geno Smith should tell you all you need to know. Wait a minute. You're willing to go with Drew Lock and Geno Smith over Baker.
And Drew Lock is like Baker Jr. as far as the attitude, So, yes, that's wild.
Yeah, it's that's the most shocking thing. The other shocking thing is, if you look back at the 2018 draft class, Sam Darnold isn't with the team that drafted him. Baker Mayfield's not going to be with the team that drafted him. And Josh Rosen, I don't know the last time he was ever relevant, if ever. What the hell? Everybody going into that draft was like, oh, look at all these great quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold, Lamar Jackson. Who are the only two that have really panned out? Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills right there, and Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. I haven't been caring for the Ravens. It is way up there.
And you know what? I'm not sure if the others understand about this, but the Ravens next season, they're going to have a big decision to make as well, because all of this Deshaun Watson guaranteed contract money stuff that just happened, it's impacting Baltimore, believe it or not. So they're going to have a tough decision, which I think is the easy decision for them to make, pay the man. But this is now the league is going to see the ripple effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Lamar has an agent. He's doing the contract. He's doing the negotiations himself, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, him and his mom. Him and Mom Dukes.
I think I'll tell you this. Even though Lamar recently won the MVP and the Ravens have been nothing but successful since he's been there, I think he still has to prove himself, because I think most people when they think Lamar Jackson, they don't think quarterback first. They think running back. Right? Am I right or wrong in that sense?
Well, kind of, but I think his rebuttal would be, hey, I got the MVP before. I've been to the playoffs. I've been past the first round multiple times. Yes, I've had injury. Okay. Yes, that's part of the game. I've overperformed than what I was supposed to. And if that doesn't help him, I don't know what will. But he's did everything he was asked to do and more.
Yeah. So the AFC. Do you think the AFC North is going to be the best division in the AFC, or is it AFC West?
I think it's the AFC West. I think AFC West is one.
Okay.
AFC North is number two. And then the NFC, that's when it gets dicey. I'll say the NFC West is probably number three. Probably, and that's debatable because I know the AFC East may have something to say about that. But if I had to pick my top three, that's the order I'm going in. How about yourself?
Yeah, I would go AFC West, AFC North, and then, gosh, that number three spot. AFC East is going to be interesting. I said on the show last week I have the Dolphins, Bills, and Patriots all in the mix for a playoff spot. Maybe not all three of them are going to make it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that way.
Only one division will have three teams that go. That's usually how it goes.
Right.
So us or the AFC West.
I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out to be the AFC West. And we both said this last week. Kansas City is not going to be one of those three teams.
Yeah, man. People's going to be they're in for a rude awakening for sure.
Yeah.
It always happens that way. That's how it is in the NFL.
Right. Although, interestingly, like after we went through the Patriots' reign of terror, it's not like they fell off the face of the earth and fell into last place in the division. But based on what I've heard you say, it sounds like you think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to finish in last place this season.
That's the way it feels. I'll say they'll probably finish tied for last. So they'll probably come in third place in their division. I don't see them being better than the Chargers. I don't see them being better than the Broncos. The Raiders, they might both be fighting for that final wild card team. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be the Raiders if that's what we're going to do.
Okay. So let me see. Week 18. Let's see. Because week 18 is always divisional matchups only.
Right.
Where are the Chiefs will be playing the Raiders in Las Vegas in week 18. And then, which means the Chargers will be playing the Broncos in Denver. And then some other notable week 18 matchups. You have Patriots at the Bills. You got Ravens at the Bengals. Browns at the Steelers. And let's see, any other notable? Rams at Seahawks. That could be interesting. I don't see any other notable Week 18 games on here.
That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is going to be very fascinating. But getting back to the Browns, Deshaun Watson looked good in mini camps.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing.
He looked great in mini camps. That's what we're hearing, correct?
Yes, that is correct. They're saying that. So they're basically saying that number 4, when he throws the ball, he throws it differently than when Baker was throwing the ball, which we all kind of knew that was going to happen, but they said that it's just a difference. Like when you got a certain piece to the equation and that piece just stands out, and it makes you start to think about the future, think about the playoffs, the potentially going to the Super Bowl, how good the fluid the offense is going to look. It's hard not to marvel at those things, but we got to pump our brakes. They don't even have pads on yet. Let's settle down. Let's see what happens with these cases that he's dealing with. But from what I'm hearing, he's looked nothing but short of phenomenal.
Right. And we also don't know, like you said, what's going to happen with these cases. And he might get suspended for the first 6 or 8 games of the season.
Right.
They might hold off on his suspension until next season. It's
all
a big, it's all like a big spider web at this point.
Yeah. Charlotte's Web.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlotte's Web. We had that deadly shooting at the elementary school. Which
my God, that was terrific. Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone, all the families, all the parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, every single person affected in that shooting.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Just to labor on that for a minute, something needs to change in this country because there have been way too many shootings. We had the shooting at that Texas elementary school. We had the shooting in Milwaukee during the Bucks watch party. We had the shooting in Buffalo. There are countless other shootings that have happened in this country. Something has got to change because
background checks or something.
It's ridiculous. Again, we're not a political show. We're a sports show first, but we'd be remiss not to mention something about that.
Hey, I'll take a step further. Not only are we we're humans first. And that's tough, man. It's like, why does this keep happening? Why is it so easy to get a gun? First of all, why is it so easy to get an AR-15? The fact that they're selling these AR, it's imaginable why you don't have a background check and you're able to get any gun you want, let alone there's no security at these schools. And we know that this is something that's been happening. So it's terrible, man. It's unfortunate. I do, I send my condolences to everybody that has been impacted by this tragedy. And it's despicable, man. And something has to be done.
Yeah. And even for the schools that have like the security guards at them, guess what? Unfortunately, the shootings are still happening. So clearly, that's not enough. And don't worry, we will get back to sports in a minute. But again,
it's more important than sports. Yeah.
This is super important. And
absolutely,
we would totally be remiss to just gloss over this and be like, okay, let's move on. No, this is bigger than just, okay, let's gloss over it and move on.
Kids, man, what the hell? Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, something needs to change. Also want to say Brittney Griner needs to come back.
Yeah, you hitting on something. She's been gone for how long? And you would think LeBron and people will bring awareness to this, and she's still captured.
Yeah,
she's a superstar.
Yeah. I mean, I watched the WNBA. I would say if I had to pick a WNBA team, I would say I root for the Minnesota Lynx. Okay. Because Maya Moore was one of my all-time favorite players and when she was at UConn and she got
Mhm.
drafted she played for the Minnesota Lynx, so it was just a natural
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm lost train
It was
of thought for a
fluid.
second.
It was
Yes,
fluid.
it was
Yeah.
fluid.
Yeah.
Hey, you
Right.
sound like Stephen A. Smith. It's fluid. It's fluid. So, but I hate it when people say, "Oh, the WNBA, it's not as good as the NBA because they don't dunk and all this and that." Okay, clearly you haven't watched the WNBA because their games are fantastic to watch. Like,
But some
sure,
would say this though, and I'm guilty of this as well. But I think women's Final Four tournament is more interesting and entertaining than WNBA at times. You know, and
that's fair.
yeah, but it's still those women, they put on a great show.
Yeah,
They're pros, and that's basketball at its highest level.
exactly.
And yeah, you remember when we had the Cleveland Rockers?
Yes, I do.
What happened to them?
I don't know.
We should have kept
I
them,
really
bro.
don't know. Again, like we know this show has gotten a little bit political today. We don't usually get this political, but these were just some topics that we absolutely had to discuss. We'd be totally remiss not to. So thank you for sticking with us and thank you for still tuning in and watching. But now we'll get back to NBA talk and all that. I would say the Dallas Mavericks are tangled. Yes, they forced a game 5, which is going down tonight. But I still think the Warriors wrap this up tonight.
Think so. It's been a tough one to watch, man. Going into the series, I would have never expected it to play out the way it has so far. But Luca's been good. But it's the role players that really haven't held their end of the bargain.
Bingo.
And they're missing a lot of open threes. They're getting all of the shots. Like it's not like they are unable to shoot or get shots. The shots are there. They're just missing them. So they're not getting any of the shots that they are accustomed to getting. The role players have not played up to the billing. And Luca, which I'm starting to get fed up with, Luca is starting to do James Harden-ish type things. Like every time he gets fouled, he's starting to whine and complain. Oh, I got fouled. And he's not just playing ball, man. He cries a lot, he whines. And one specific comment he made, which was in the press conference, the game before last, when he said, I'm just a kid, so I'm learning and I'm getting better. My takeaway from that was LeBron was just a kid. All of the greats were just kids, yet they didn't make any excuses as to, well, this is why we're losing because I'm learning. No, man, just we understand. We know you're a kid. So keep playing ball. Don't make excuses for it. And I'm sure your team don't want to hear you pretty much waving the white flag. Like, we gave it all and I'm a kid. And no one wants to hear that, man, especially the Dallas fans. So those two things, or those two areas, is what rubbed me the wrong way. And, I'm a big Luka fan, but
yeah,
the kid is great, man. And we're seeing it unfold.
Even in your rundown, in your mini rundown that you sent me, you asked the question, is Luka a superstar?
Yeah, he is.
I'm going to have to say, as of right now, no.
And why is that?
This is his first year having playoff success. I think in order to reach that superstar category, that's dependent on playoff success. Again, I'm not saying championships,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying playoff success in general. Like, that's why people are, after what Memphis did last year by winning the play-in tournament, yeah, they lost to Utah in the first round, but they made that an interesting series. And then we saw what the Grizzlies did this year. That's why people are starting to put John Morant into that superstar discussion. I don't know.
Some would say, though, I was going to say, some would say, I mean, yes, he didn't have success, but he did go against the Clippers. They do have Paul George. They do have Kawhi Leonard. And even though they lost, he made them look bad 2 years in a row.
Yeah. I mean, I bet you if Luka did have Kristaps Porzingis in that Clippers series last year, Dallas might have won that series.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If he could have made it work, man, if he was still there now, there's no telling how this would have unfolded. But, yeah.
If Porzingis were still there, I don't think the Mavericks would be in the Western Conference Finals right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because of the chemistry, and I feel that.
There were too many times where it was just like, almost there, but not quite. Like, there was something missing. I will say this. I think Dallas had the advantage in Game 4 for two reasons. One, when a team goes up 3-0, sure, they're not necessarily going to say out loud, like, oh, yeah, we're just going to win this game easily. Like, the other team's just going to pack their bags and go home type thing. But maybe Golden State was thinking about that a little bit. Dallas played inspired in Game 4 because, A, they didn't want to get swept, and B, we just had that tragedy as we just vehemently talked about.
Right.
So you had that. I don't know the best way to say this, but I don't know if Dallas can carry that on the road to Golden State. Not to say the Mavericks are going to forget about that tragedy or that they're not going to think like, oh, we're still the underdogs and all that. I'm obviously not saying that.
They just simply can't win there.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know they can take that sentiment and carry that momentum on the road. Yeah. If that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's a tough place to play at. Let's just be frank about it. And it's just, like I said earlier, it just seems like the role players, when they go there, they are nowhere to be found. The shots are not falling. You got Luca that's just crying about every single foul. And it's just like they just get away from what got them there. And they just don't have enough. I think they've maxed out, but they don't have enough to withhold this quick paced, system moving pass run team. And this team is defending like Andrew Wiggins, the number one pick that the Cavs selected, traded for Kevin Love. He's been doing a hell of a job trying to shut down Luka. So he's slowing Luka down. All the other guys are just the shots aren't falling. And when you're on the road, that team, the crowd is electric down there. So
yeah,
it's looking like the t-shirts might get passed out tonight.
Yeah. And then tomorrow night we have Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Boston wraps it up. I don't think the series is going back to Miami for Game 7.
I agree.
Miami just looks disheveled. They
do. They're a shell of themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody on their team seems to have some type of injury.
Ever since Boston inserted Williams into the lineup to take Bam out, that's neutralized. Yeah, man. he's did a great job on Bam, where it's like I don't even know where Bam is. Damn, Bam, damn. You know,
Damn, Bam.
ever since that 30-point explosion.
Yeah. Watching last night's game and then watching the first 3 games of the Warriors Mavericks series gets me that much more excited for what feels like an inevitable showdown between Golden State and Boston in the NBA Finals. I cannot wait because you got, as long as he is, everybody has to be healthy. But hypothetically, let's say everybody is healthy. You've got Steph Curry against the Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. That seems like a great matchup. Klay Thompson against Jaylen Brown feels like a great matchup. Andrew Wiggins versus Jason Tatum feels like a good, on the verge of being a great matchup. I would need to see like them go at it a little bit. Maybe not have each of them score like 30 plus points, but have some sort of battle to really say, oh, this is going to be a great matchup type thing. And then Al Horford against Draymond. And then I don't know what Golden State would do at the center. They'd probably do Kevon Looney against Robert Williams, which that would be an okay matchup. But think about it. You have 3 great matchups, one matchup that could turn into a great matchup, and then another matchup that doesn't matter all that much.
I could see Golden State flipping the switch on Looney for that specific matchup and probably inserting Kuzinga into it.
Oh, Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, because that gives them more of a flexibility to be able to stay in front. Like be able to match up their speed, because it's going to be a quick pace series. But
so you think Golden State could potentially go like small ball?
Yes, absolutely. Because if you think about it, Boston, they technically are playing small ball.
Yeah,
the league in general is playing small ball, but Looney was effective because he had the body size to combat Luca from coming in the paint and just bullying everybody and getting easy layups. When Looney's in there, that doesn't happen now. So you got athletic Wiggins, being able to stay in front of him, which makes it difficult for him to get to the paint. And by the time he gets to the paint, you got that big body with Looney. Now Luca's, where's the foul at? He's struggling. So I think the difference with Dallas and Boston, Tatum, man, he's emerging into a superstar. And I know you said Luka's not yet, but Tatum is on the cusp of hitting that superstar.
I think Tatum has more of a case to be becoming a superstar than Luka does. Because
it's debatable.
Tatum has had more playoff success. Like we said, it feels inevitable that we're getting Warriors Celtics in the NBA Finals. In my opinion, this should be the second time in, if I'm doing this math right, 4 years that we're getting this matchup, because we should have got this matchup in 2018. I'm a diehard Cleveland Cavaliers fan. I know it doesn't look like it, but yes, I am a diehard Cleveland Cavaliers fan. They are my number one team beyond all doubt. It's just that I'm a major NBA fan, so I like to collect the pennants. But I will say this. I didn't think we belonged in the NBA Finals against the Warriors in 2018. I really didn't. Because it felt, that 2018 team felt like the 2007 team that got swept by the Spurs, where it was basically just LeBron and a bunch of other guys.
But if memory serves me correct, LeBron did handle Boston. right?
He did. He did.
Decisively.
Well, no, not decisively. That series went to Game 7, and I believe the final score was really low scoring. It was like 93-87, something like that. Hold on. 2018 Eastern Conference Finals.
I know it was like Game 6 was like, it seemed like we just quit and we're like, okay, we'll see y'all in Game 7.
Yeah.
Which a lot of teams seem to do these days. It's like, okay, we'll just wait till next game.
So I have the full series for the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Game 1, Boston came away with the win 108-83.
Mm-hmm.
Game 2, Boston was victorious 107-94, so they held serve on their home court.
Mm-hmm.
Game 3, back in Cleveland, the Cavaliers won Game 3 handily, 116-86.
Mm-hmm.
Game 4, Cavaliers won a little bit of a closer game, 111-102.
Mm-hmm.
Game 5, back in Boston, Celtics won 96-83.
Right.
Game 6, back in Cleveland, Cleveland won 109-99.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Game 7, Cavaliers won in Boston 87-79.
And you know the saying, it's not a playoff game until the road team wins on the road.
Yep. Now,
So that's what we had there.
Yeah. So, but you can't change the past, obviously. I know that.
Right,
and obviously, as a Cavs fan, I love going to the finals. But there was just when we went to the finals in 2007 and 2018, you're like, okay, this is just not a good matchup on paper type thing.
Yeah, it wasn't, but it's like it's still that was so that 2007 because I was actually a part of that. Like I was downtown. I'm an old man, so I was in the pinnacle of my kick it. But the city was just electric, man. Despite us getting swept, we were happy to be there. And the fact that LeBron was able to take Iron Newble, Daniel Marshall, Sasha Pavlik, he took these guys and made them name or household names because of his brilliancy. And it's just he's going against 3 Hall of Famers, and they dismantled us. But it was a good time for the city. We were just happy to be there.
Yeah. We have an AEW pay-per-view this weekend. Jay, I know you're not the biggest wrestling fan, but we're working on it. Right.
I'm getting there. I'm improving. I'm starting to learn, some of the guys and gals that are in AEW. But yes, I've come a long way.
Yeah. If you have the opportunity, I would definitely check out this pay-per-view because it's insane.
Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us about this. So
okay, I will run down the entire pay-per-view card right now. All right?
Or the ones that matter.
Well, every match on the pay-per-view basically matters for one reason or another.
Yeah.
So the main event is going to be for the AEW World Championship. You have Hangman Adam Page defending his title against CM Punk. For the then you got the Women's World Championship, Thunder Rosa against Serena Deeb. You have MJF against Wardlow, match basically 3 years in the making. You have the TBS Championship, Jade Cargill against Anna Jay. That's the only match that I'm like, not so sure about.
Mm-hmm.
You have what I think is going to be the match of the night, a triple threat tag team match for the World Tag Team Championships. Jungle Express against Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs against Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. You've got another tag team match, the Young Bucks against the Hardys. That match is has match of the night written all over it. You have what AEW calls a trios match. In reality, it's just a 6-man tag team match. It's Death Triangle, Pac, Ray Phoenix, and Penta El Cero Miedo going against the House of Black. That's Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and I don't remember the third guy on the team. So hopefully when Brian gets here, he can refresh us on that. But that match is going to be insane. You've got the men's Owen Hart Foundation final. Samoa Joe going against Adam Cole. You have the women's Owen Hart Foundation match. That's going to be Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. That's her thing, going against Ruby Soho. And then you have a match that's just going to be pure violence and just insanity. Anarchy in the Arena. We have the Jericho Appreciation Society going against Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Santana, Ortiz, and Eddie Kingston. And this is perfect timing because look who's here. What up?
There they are. What's going on, guys?
The GOAT.
We were just running down the card for the Double or Nothing pay-per-view this weekend.
It looks pretty great.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
So, what match are you most looking forward to?
Man, there's some really good ones. I've always been a fan of battle royales. I think with the simpler storytelling that AEW does, you don't have to have watched for months and months leading up to it and be like, man, I don't know what's going on anymore. I can't enjoy it. That's what's great about this. They have, I think, some shorter feuds that are good. Anyone can hop in at any time and enjoy just some good old-fashioned wrestling.
What?
For entertainment, anything with Jericho. Chris Jericho's been in the business a long time, and he's great. He's a great heel. He does things that are funny, but he's still a good wrestler. I'm looking forward to that match. I think my favorite, man, it's got to be the Death Triangle match. Those guys are so awesome. They're such badass guys. I think it'll just be a good, just dirty fight. That's what
I couldn't remember who the third member of House of Black is. It's Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and then Brody King.
Brody King.
That's it. Okay. Yeah, that
Burley King.
Brody.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I was saying, I think the match that's going to steal the show, though, is that triple threat match for the tag team championships.
That's going to be great. That's going to be great. You're going to see a lot of it's a good combination of high flyers partnered with just some big, strong dude who will beat the shit out of you. And they're athletic big guys, too. So it's not the wrestling of old where, I love Andre the Giant, rest in peace, but, he's just a big guy. He doesn't move fast or didn't, there are a lot of these newer guys who are a lot more athletic. It's very similar to the changes in the centers when you watch pro basketball, at least in the NBA. You don't have the pure center anymore. There aren't too many big guys, with the exception of a few maybe 7-foot guys in pro wrestling that are just the standard big guy. They move slow and they punch you really hard. We don't see that anymore.
Why do you think it's a shift?
It's a great question, man. I think with basketball, I'll mention that, and I'll come over to wrestling. Basketball,
right.
There was that European influence. The game was just different there. Dirk came over and changed the way people played. He was a really tall guy with a great shot. And, wow, we can get more out of a center than posting up. I like a role player. I appreciate and respect a role player. I grew up in, the end of like the Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson days where there were just pure centers who were just big, strong guys, where we didn't really have where Kevin Garnett was an anomaly. There was a tall guy, but he wasn't, big, but could play. And I see maybe even changes in general in, I don't know if it's changes in science or workouts where these bigger guys are more agile. You've got a guy like Keith Lee who's fighting. This guy's over 300 pounds. These are big guys, but he can do cartwheels and flips and moonsaults and, diving over top ropes and stuff like that you don't expect from big guys. WWE has a couple guys that can do it. They don't really let them do it, but they can.
Is there HGH testing in wrestling?
Nah.
Okay.
Well, no. They're in the. I think they do now because there were some guys you could tell when things changed in early 2000s, late 90s. There were some wrestlers that came in. They were big. Their shoulders, man. Like if you're looking, not making. I don't want to name any names and accuse anyone, but you can go back and look at some wrestlers just from the chest up. These guys are big. These are some WWE guys who were just their necks and shoulders were massive, and they leaned up very quick. They're muscular guys, but it's not bulky, Western muscle. They're a lot slimmer, but still defined. I don't know. These guys are just athletic. So I'm looking forward to some of those pairings with the big guys paired with the high flyer because they can all do something too.
Yeah, I agree with you. To continue that theme of like big guys being super athletic, you got Wardlow against MJF.
Hold on. Cleveland native Wardlow against MJF.
Yes, that is correct. Cleveland native Wardlow.
Yep.
AEW has done a fantastic job telling this story. They've kept it nice and simple. MJF has done for MJF. His real name is Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So AEW just said, "All right, well, we'll take your name and make it simple."
That's the dude I don't like, right?
Yeah,
that's the dude I don't like. Okay, jerk.
He's supposed to be a heel, which means you're not supposed to like him. And
I don't. He'll be his ass kicked.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he will. Don't worry. I hope AEW doesn't make this a squash match. I hope they make it like legit.
What's a squash match?
When someone just squashes you, they just beat you real fast right away.
Oh, just like a hurry up and a sweep for Cavs in the 07 sweep.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. You'll see it a lot in WWE when they debut a new wrestler and they want him to look strong. They'll have him fight some super skinny guy you've never heard of from that hometown, and he beats him in like 30 seconds. Just comes in and just squashes the guy.
Yeah.
Or that makes sense.
The other reason they'll do a squash match is if they want to set up like some sort of post-match angle.
Yeah.
Where like the person they're feuding with comes out and that triggers a brawl, or if you have a tag team match, like the rest of the group comes out and that triggers a brawl of some sort, something like that.
Yep. Yeah, I don't expect a squash match with those guys. And like Josh said, the storytelling's been great, but it's been simple. So for anyone watching who isn't familiar, MJF is a wrestler signed to AEW, but the storyline is Wardlow, this big, strong, but also athletic guy. He doesn't have a contract directly with AEW. He's signed.
Okay.
He's signed to MJF as his bodyguard.
And, I remember him now.
Yeah. Okay. After helping him beat people up and do all these things, and the slow burn, like after a while he'd do something and he should get the credit, and MJF or someone else would sneak in and make the pin or do something to take the attention away from him. And he slowly started, man, I'm not appreciated here. I don't like this. And he'd slowly step back, or he'd stop helping MJF cheat.
Okay.
And so you can see like this rift forming, and he's like, hey man, you're still under contract. You have to do what I say. So he's like, okay. And he'll come back and do it again. But he just got fed up and like, yo, I don't care. So they bring all the security out. Don't let this guy in the ring. But of course, he'd come in and beat all the security guards up and get in the ring, and he made him jump through all these hoops. If you want to fight me, you have to go through all of these things. You got to beat this guy. You got to win these matches that seem impossible, everything. And we're at this point now where he's just ready to fight. Like, they make him come out to the ring in handcuffs so he couldn't touch anybody. All these
They took away his
stipulations.
Right. They took away his entrance music.
Yep. He has to come out to silence. He can't come out.
What? Wow.
Yep.
And they're fighting. And those two are fighting.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm all in. I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
I know. I remember us watching this. Okay.
Yes.
So this will be fun.
Yeah. And then in the main event, you've got the World Championship match, Punk against Hangman. I think Punk is supposed to be the heel in this feud. It's kind of hard to tell.
Can't really tell.
Right.
You know, they've made interesting angle with it. There's no clear-cut good guy, bad guy. It's almost more of a new versus old.
Yeah. Like new school versus
I'm the
old
champion
school
now,
thing.
and you're the veteran. You paved the way, but I'm the champion now, and what are you going to do about it? Kind of story. Like,
right. So like a new
Changing
school
the
versus
guard.
old school
Yes.
type thing. And just to clarify, when we say heel, that means bad guy, and when we say face, because nobody uses the word baby face anymore, everybody just says face.
Yep.
That means good. Yeah, but with going back to that trios match, the House of Black versus Death Triangle. Do you think this is going to be the match where AEW says, "Okay, we're bringing out the trios championships"?
I hope so. There was a company where I first found matches from Pentagon Jr. and Ray Phoenix and these other guys. It was a company called Lucha Underground a few years ago. And it was done in LA, and they called it the Temple, but it looked like it was built in this warehouse somewhere in like Boyle Heights. And it was like almost like a dungeon type feel, and all these fans that just loved crazy, high-flying, bloody fights. It was great. And they introduced this trios instead of a tag team, you know, obviously two people. They had teams of three. And AEW has enough factions or groups of three that I think they should do it. Why not have a belt for teams of three? Why not?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Do it.
Something new.
I mean, there doesn't need to be a championship on the line for the anarchy at the arena. That's just going to be pure violence.
You're a monster, Josh.
Yeah. That's just going to be pure violence. So if you like violence and just hard-hitting wrestling, I would tune in for that match. Because, oh my God, like Chris Jericho, who's the leader of the Jericho Appreciation Society, which I think that's a terrible name for a faction. But I like
Appreciation.
I'll say it like this. I like the faction. I don't like the faction name.
I feel like that maybe it's working. You know, like we talked with, you know, Jason's not a fan of MJF. Well, he's a dick. You're not supposed to like him.
Yeah.
So it's working. Like the Jericho
It is.
Appreciation Society just feels like such a dick move. And that's what makes it funny. Like, I'm so much
Appreciation
better than
Society.
you. You should appreciate me. These guys appreciate me. This is my new faction.
Appreciation
I love that.
Society.
Yeah.
I also love that his new faction has taken the approach of, we are the sports entertainers. And
Yes.
Jericho
Which is
has taken on,
amazing.
yeah,
Appreciate
Jericho's taken on this new persona of, I'm a wizard. I can shoot fireballs into people's faces.
Yeah, he's been throwing fireballs at people. I don't know how. I don't know if it's like maybe he has a lighter and some kind of spray and like there are a couple people that like he's actually like burned people. Not I don't know, but like part of the story, like so I'm assuming there's some kind of aerosol spray or something, and someone has a lighter, but have done some kind of effect where fire shoots out at people, and that just adds to the silliness of Jericho, just threatening to throw fireballs at people. Like,
yeah, and the
great.
Funny thing is, like you said earlier, Brian, we're not supposed to like the Jericho Appreciation Society, and yet they're still playing the Judas theme song. So what happens when they come out? Everybody in the crowd is singing Judas in, Judas in, Judas in my mind.
Yep, so but last time he stopped them, everyone was singing his theme song, and you have the whole arena singing his song. So, like Josh was saying, if you've got a guy who's supposed to be hated, you can't have the whole crowd singing along to his music.
Yeah.
So then he stopped him. He's like, no, stop singing. Stop the music. Like, you guys don't deserve this song. And really been playing into it. It's great. And like Josh mentioned, they've been playing into this whole pro wrestler versus sports entertainer thing, which is why a lot of people like AEW over WWE, because it's more of the sport and less of the show.
Right.
When you watch a 3-hour episode of Monday Night Raw, you're lucky if you get 6 matches. That's a great night. 6 fights in 3 hours is crazy. And it's all recaps.
To add on to that, a lot of the matches you get on Monday Night Raw in those 3 hours are count out, disqualification, surprise roll up.
Yeah.
Like, whereas in AEW, like, that was the first disqualification match ending that I can remember in a while.
Yeah, they don't do that. They have winners and losers. WWE, sometimes they'll like to protect certain people. Like, man, we can't have this guy lose, but man, we can't have this guy lose yet either. So let someone interfere and we'll just, it's a disqualification.
Right. Like when Cody Rhodes faced Theory for the United States Championship, it's like, well, we don't want Cody to win and take the title off of Theory, but we also don't want Theory to beat Cody. Hey, here's an idea. Don't put them in a match in the first place. What a
looking at the time. And looking at the time, I don't think we want to get disqualified either. So
right.
Yeah, it's about that. It's about close.
So hopefully we got you hyped up for AEW Double or Nothing. It goes down this Sunday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. And usually the saying is what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I don't think that's going to be the case with this pay-per-view.
Nice.
Not at all.
But thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Sports Channels. We really appreciate it. Make sure to, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Sports Channels YouTube channel. Subscribe to Manalytics as usual. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Unger to the Max. You want to plug anything, Brian?
Yeah, just search YouTube here on YouTube, Essence, ESSINCE. Feel free to like and subscribe. Same on Facebook, it's Essence. Thank you guys for allowing me to be on and talk nerd stuff with you guys.
No doubt.
You're welcome.
It's been fun.
Yep.
No
Always
problem.
great. All right. We will see you on the next episode of the Sports Channels.
Be safe. Good night now.